Remember, if for any reason you must leave your radio, please have the man at the door stamp your ear so you can listen again later.
Saturday mornings, 8:30 Eastern. Dixie Football Nation is back and better than ever. We got Tony Agolini, Matt Carr, Tones Ariola, Bobby and Angelo, along with Mac McGee this fall. Dixie Football Nation heads to the gridiron, talking ACC, SEC, the Big Ten, and all the big games throughout the college football land. That's Dixie Football Nation, 8:30 Eastern, 7:30 Central, Saturday mornings on the Armchair Quarterback Show's YouTube channel, going live. Or catch the instant replay.
Screen pass to Trayshawn DeAndre on the right side. He dodges Crushman, makes his way to the end zone. Touchdown! But wait a second. I think there's a flag on the play.
All right, you guys got holding on number 97, right?
Yeah, definitely holding. No touchdown.
All right, make the call.
Yeah, I mean, it was holding.
Right, so make the call.
Or, we say the flag was for an excessive celebration so they can keep the touchdown and apply the penalty to the kickoff, huh? What do you say?
What are you talking about? I didn't see excessive celebration.
You sure? Could have sworn I saw a little nay-nay going on.
What's going on with you, man?
All right, look, guys, I got to be real with you. Trayshawn DeAndre just scored that touchdown, okay? I have him on my fantasy team this week. I need these points.
What? Are you kidding me?
No, I'm not kidding you, Bill. I'm playing against my father-in-law this week, and if he doesn't score this touchdown, I lose.
Well, I'm not going to let you make a bad call because you're in some fantasy football league.
Make the call.
Craig, no. If you make one bad call...
This works out perfectly, Bill. I started the quarterback who threw the touchdown pass. We're going to have to ignore the holding call.
I have the kicker, and I was kind of hoping that he wouldn't convert on third down, so he'd have to kick the field goal.
Armchair.
Get your Sunday football morning started off right with the Handicappers on Armchair Quarterbacks YouTube, 10 a.m. Eastern to noon Eastern. Your Sunday morning kickoff show where we tackle your NFL lines out in the desert, a 61.2% win rate over the last 6 years. Against the spread, over, under, money line, you name it. And we dive into the world of fantasy football year-long and your DFS payouts. Your only true Southern football kickoff show that talks the spreads in Vegas, your DFS and fantasy, and your year-long quest to win that fantasy football championship. Only on the Armchair Quarterbacks YouTube channel. It's the Handicappers on Armchair Quarterbacks YouTube, 10 a.m. Eastern to noon Eastern. Sundays, all NFL season long. The Armchair Quarterbacks on YouTube Live, covering the AFC South and NFC South along with the rest of the NFL. Subscribe and like us today. Your first choice for sports talk live from the First Coast.
Oh, yeah? Well, me and the Lord, we got an understanding. We're on a mission from God.
Make contact. A collective psychosis is sweeping the nation. We're in the thick of the haze craze, and Elysian is introducing an altered state of IPA. Contact Haze is a tangled chemistry of mild haze, low bitterness, and an explosion of hop aroma. This hazy IPA bursts with notes of bright raspberry, currant, citrus, guava, and passion fruit. Available in 6-pack cans in stores and in all Seattle Elysian locations. Make contact.
You're riding Morning Shotgun with the Armchair Quarterbacks. We're here weekdays. Your first choice for sports talk here on the First Coast.
If we actually enjoyed our New Year's resolutions, we'd all have 6-packs, money in our saving accounts, and we'd know how to play the piano. I have to tell you about the one resolution I actually enjoy. It's Built Bar. It's delicious. Oh, yeah, it's healthy, too. Built Bar is healthier than your favorite protein bar. They're low-cal, low-sugar, high-protein, high-fiber, great for the keto diet. Lose or maintain weight while indulging. And with only 4 net carbs and 150 calories, there's no guilt. Visit BuiltBar.com.
This is Channel 2 with the Armchair Quarterbacks. Catch me drive time with Mac McGee and the Armchair Quarterbacks radio show and Facebook Live.
Enjoy sun-drenched days, epic stays, and plenty of room to roam in Greater Fort Lauderdale. Our hotels, attractions, and restaurants have taken the Visit Lauderdale's Safe and Clean pledge, so you can relax and explore with confidence. When you're ready for that well-deserved staycation, our 23 miles of golden beaches await. Find wide-open spaces to hike, bike, kayak, and paddleboard. Visit your favorite attractions, then dine out in style in socially distanced dining rooms or al fresco on waterfront patios. Learn more at sunny.org.
Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the crowd.
Good morning, and welcome to Take Me Out to the Ball Game today. So we're going to get you going here in just a little bit. We're having some issues with Justin. Not sure if he's going to be able to make it. There's a flood going on in Tennessee, and he's trying to deal with those issues. So we'll keep you abreast of that situation. Doug is on the way, and we are going to be talking some fantasy football here in a little bit. But before we get into all that, what I wanted to do is start off with college football, because college football, you saw some interesting things happen over the weekend, and then a lot of that transpired into what happened on Sunday morning, where the new rankings come out. And when the rankings came out, it kind of surprised me a little bit, just because it's not normal for this to happen, for your brand names to win and yet lose ground in the college football polls. But this is essentially what happened. Is you see Clemson and Ohio State fall. They fall all the way down to number 9 and number 10 respectively. Finally, the voters are starting to catch up with the Joneses and realize that you don't just vote them in because of their name. You have to go by what they've done on the field. Clemson has not been particularly impressive. They played Georgia close, and Georgia has been impressive. But other than that, Clemson's offense hasn't gotten going. It still remains to be seen what Georgia's going to do against a high-caliber offense, a high-caliber team that can both match them point for point and also play defense. But what it looks like, when you go back and you look at that Georgia-Clemson game, what it really looks like to me is it's a couple of teams that had really good defenses, and Clemson's defense might be elite because Georgia's offense has looked pretty good since then. So maybe that was rust, and maybe it was much to do about nothing. But my overreaction to it is I think Georgia might be a bit overrated themselves. They're sitting at number 2 in the country. I don't know if Georgia's the second best team in the country. And Florida, by the way, you can be for Florida, you can be against the Gators, whatever. Florida looked pretty darn good on Saturday, didn't they? I mean, this is a team that has looked like that. Look, they went toe to toe with Alabama, who is considered by, I think, I can't imagine anyone would argue this, they're the best team in the country. And Florida gave them all they wanted. Now, granted, it was in Gainesville, and that's got a lot to do with it. When you're the road team, and especially in conference play, you just want to get a W. Florida was not particularly impressive their first 2 games, but Saturday they were very impressive. And so Florida still sits in the polling. They did not lose an ounce. They're sitting at 2-1. Is that fair to teams like Notre Dame and Ole Miss, who are undefeated? Teams like Arkansas, BYU. We'll put BYU and Coastal Carolina in their own area. But what about other Power 5 schools? Michigan. What about Michigan State? I thought Michigan State has really made themselves known. I think they're a little bit underrated considering what they've done. They've beaten some pretty good programs, and they went in and they handled Miami, and they did it. I get it. A lot of people are saying, well, Miami's a fraud and they're not that good, blah, blah, blah. But Miami still has some very good athletes. And Michigan State, you got to give them their due. You can't always say that when a team beats a team that they're underdogs to, especially on the road, that after the game, the knee-jerk reaction can't be, well, I guess Miami wasn't any good. Well, what if Michigan State is good, right? It can't always be, well, that team wasn't any good anyways, just because you're trying to sell your own narrative of whatever team, school, or conference that you're trying to beat the drum to. Michigan State's been impressive. Remember, Michigan handled Washington. Washington's had a subpar year so far, but they have handled. I'll tell you who's impressed the heck out of me is Ole Miss. Ole Miss's offense, man, they are just, and I know they haven't really been tested yet, but their offense is hitting on all cylinders. I can't wait for some of their matchups coming up. So that's what you got in the world of college football. The top 10 poll looks like this. If you missed it, Alabama 1, Georgia 2, Oregon 3, Oklahoma 4, and Iowa 5. And then you have Penn State, Texas A&M, Cincinnati rounding out the top 8. And then you have the one-loss teams of Clemson, Ohio State, and Florida sitting at 8-11. And then, of course, I mentioned this a second ago, but Notre Dame and Ole Miss are right below them at 12-13. So I'll put the whole top 25 up here in a second in the feed. But basically, what we have to look at here is this is just the beginning of the college football season, but we're starting to get guys that are, or get teams that are making their own statement, right? And we're going to find out along the way who the best teams are. But I got to agree with the way it is right now, that I think you're looking at two of the best teams in the country in Georgia and Alabama that are bound for a showdown. But even with all that being said, I don't know. Notre Dame, they've looked suspect, but you've got to give them their due. They're undefeated. Should they be behind teams with these one losses? Used to, years ago, the teams who were undefeated always were ranked in front of the teams with one losses, and then it always worked itself out. And it doesn't look like that's going to be the case going forward. It looks like to me that everyone is going to be doing their own math. And I don't know. In some ways I like it. In some ways I don't like it. But regardless, it is what it is at this point. By the way, Kansas State sitting at 25. That's a little shocking to me. Nothing against Kansas State personally in any way, shape, or form. But Kansas State, to me, I would have to see them take down a big power before I'm impressed by them. UCLA has looked good. Even in a loss, I thought Auburn looked pretty good. Auburn fell apart at the end, as they always do, but I felt like that they were pretty good across the board. And what about Fresno State being in the top 25? What about Coastal Carolina? So we'll put the rest of the rankings up here in a second, but that's what you got coming in on a Monday morning. As far as baseball goes, and programming note, we will have Braves Country today with Timus and I. We're going to be talking the AL East and the NL East, so I won't spend a whole lot of time on this right now. But with that being said, well, crap. I was about to share it. I give up now. All that editing, and I had to hell with it. There's your top 12. Go look up the rest. The AL East and the NL East, to me, are going to come down to the wire. Not much at AL East as far as who's going to win the division. AL East is going to be about the wild card. What's Michael saying? I have polls till week 5. I hate having polls until week 5. Nah. You know, I've heard that argument, but I vehemently disagree, because polls are what sells advertisements, and they're always going to have polls. So there's certain hills I'm willing to die on. That's not one of them, because you got to look at it from the business standpoint. When they go to promote a game in the first few weeks of the season, they don't want to go out there, and let's just say, for instance, last weekend's game, Penn State versus Auburn, You don't want to put up there Penn State. Well, that's all we got to say about that. Versus Auburn. Well, that's all we got to say about that. Instead, they're going number such and such Penn State is hosting number such and such Auburn Tigers. It builds up the hype. It gives people a reason of why they want to watch it. So, this isn't professional sports. Professional sports, you don't need rankings because you all play each other, et cetera, et cetera. Now, I think they're much more important in college football than they are in any other college sport, but it's a way of being able to put out the content and get eyeballs on it. Because that's what college football is trying to do. They're trying to sell it. And the average Joe isn't going to know what Auburn has or what Penn State has. They just see the rankings. They go, all right, let me get a cold beer and watch this one. And so same thing with Florida versus Alabama. If there were no rankings, you'd be sitting there going, all right, 2 teams in the SEC and the rest of the country would just be flipping around going, I don't care, man. I'll wait till week 5 before I pay attention to this. So rankings are going nowhere. That's kind of my gist of it. And I'm fine with the rankings. It's okay to have the over rankings earlier in the season. It gives fans something to get excited about, gets fans something to be disappointed about. Speaking of disappointment, man, Florida State sucks. And Mike Norvell sucks. And I don't care what any Florida State fan tries to tell me until he starts putting wins on the field. I don't want to hear about how he's changing the culture and how he's doing this and he's going to get these recruits. He's not getting these recruits. Have you lost your ever-loving mind? You rookies, you newbies to college sports watching. If he continues to lose game after game, the team was like 2-10 or 2-8 or whatever that. I guess they played 12 this year. 2-10. They're not getting a top recruiting class. I don't care what some 17-year-old kid tells you on Instagram last weekend. I guys, buddies of mine, sending me Florida State junk Saturday night and Sunday morning about how they were going to be all in and they're gonna stay and they're gonna be committed and I'm coming to Florida. Okay, there's gonna be a few guys that want to be playing for said college. This isn't just Florida State. This is any school. There's going to be a few guys out there that say, hey, I really want to go there because either A, I enjoy what I see when I go to Florida State and I want to see what their campus is like. I enjoy that. Maybe there's even a smaller percentage that's going to a school because they like whatever program that they want to major in. But most of these kids are looking at these NIL deals, et cetera, and you're going to make more money at schools that are winning because you're going to be on television more. And Florida State is now 0-3, and I don't know how this isn't even possible, but they're the ESPN2 game mainly because of brand decade after decade long brand. There's still the 3:30 kickoff this Saturday, but that doesn't last forever, my friends. It doesn't. Ask Georgia Tech. When I was growing up as a kid, I would always hear about how Georgia Tech was a pretty good college football program not too long ago. In other words, I had just missed it, right? 60s and 70s. And I would hear that. I go, okay. Oh, okay. They used to be in the SEC. Man, by the time I was in my 20s, like, who the hell is Georgia Tech? They had the one good year in 90 where you can argue whether or not they should have been co-national champions or not. I don't think they would have beaten Nebraska on the field. Was it Nebraska? No, Colorado. I don't believe that they would have beaten Colorado on the field. But other than that, Georgia Tech's been nothing. My entire lifetime, Georgia Tech has been terrible college football after terrible college football year. So it doesn't last forever if you don't continue. Look at the University of Tennessee. Look how dominant they were in the late 90s, early 2000s. And they have fallen on hard times for the last 15, almost 20 years. Tennessee football has been irrelevant in college football. Not to a Tennessee fan, so just like not to a Florida State fan. But you can't suck forever and keep thinking these kids are going to start coming to you because they want to wear your jersey. Heck, we ruined that anyways when we changed the jerseys after the national championship. We lost that mystique of the jerseys, and we lost the mystique of the logo that they changed. So all that junk has gone down. Every decision they have made post 2013 has not worked out. And so I refuse to believe that Norvell is the answer. He's going to have to prove it to me. I'm done defending guys like this. I did it with Taggart for a year. And then the second year is, all right, well, we'll see what happens. And then it just got worse. And this is exactly what we're saying. It's a replay. So anyways, moving on to baseball. We will be talking about that at the top of the hour. I mean, excuse me, not the top of this hour at 10 a.m. But real quick, I did want to hit the standings just because I know we get engulfed into football. I do myself. I still watch my Braves on a device as I'm watching football. I kept an eye on all the games this weekend. But all in all, you lose track because football games are so much more important because you only have a few every year. In baseball, they play so many. So right now in the National League wild card, Dodgers obviously commanding lead. St. Louis now has an unbelievable 3-game lead in the National League wild card. I cannot believe this. I really thought it was going to be the Reds, but the Reds have fallen off the planet here recently. Remember, we only got 2 weeks left. We got this week and next week. That's it. They are now 3 games back. The St. Louis Cardinals have won 8 consecutive games, 9 of their last 10. So I'm sure a lot of people have slept on that. And in the far rear, you got Philadelphia sitting at 3.5 back. Cincy, like I said, is 3 back, and the Padres are left for dead too. They're 3.5 back. The only good thing for these guys trying to chase, if you're going to do something, you better wake up now. Cincinnati hosts Pittsburgh. Philly hosts Baltimore. And the St. Louis Cardinals are at Milwaukee. San Diego hosts San Francisco, but we all know how that's going to work out. San Francisco's going to beat them like a drum. San Francisco's playing incredible baseball. The Braves took 1 of those games in the series. Now, in the American League, Boston leaves Toronto by a game. So if it ended today, the wild card would be in Boston versus the Blue Jays, and the Yankees are a 1.5 back. They got beat by the Orioles with Garrett Cole on the mound. They lost the series to the Orioles over the weekend. Good God. Garrett Cole was atrocious. My dynasty baseball, fantasy baseball league, I know this has nothing to do with it, but he was going in that league. And I was hoping for a big day from him. He got embarrassed. I still won the championship. And we'll talk about fantasy here in a little while, but the only reason why I paid attention to it during all that football yesterday was because of the fantasy, with the money on the line. And I was like, my God, you stink. You can't go out there and thump the Orioles. Ugh. I think the Yankees are starting to fade. A's are getting hot at the right time. They've won 7 of their last 10. They're 2 out. So if you're looking at the divisions, Tampa still has a healthy lead, a 6.5 with 14 to play or 13 to play, whatever the case may be for your team. I still think I just don't think that would be an epic collapse. I don't see it happening. Toronto comes into Tampa today. That begins a 3-game series. More on that later. White Sox are very close. They're 4 games away from their magic number from clinching. Houston has a healthy 6-game lead. The National League East now looks like this. Philly loses to the Mets last night, so gave the Braves a little bit of breathing room. They have a 2-game lead in the East. The Mets still have a pulse. They're 5.5 back. Remember, they finished the season with 3 games in Atlanta. So that's the magic number they're really trying to get to. They're trying to get to 3 to force Atlanta to have to beat them to be able to clinch the division. Milwaukee has clinched their division, and the Giants have clinched the playoff spot along with the Dodgers. They clinched a playoff spot. The Giants, though, are only one game in front of the Dodgers. They continue to play well, won 8 of their last 10. And San Francisco plays a much better squad in San Diego the next couple of days. They're off today as well as the Dodgers. The Dodgers will be in Colorado soon, so we'll keep an eye on that. If you're looking at how that division is going to come down to the wire, the final part of that series, or the final series, excuse me, the Giants season is going to end like this. They're at the Padres and at the Rockies. And then next week they're at home against the Diamondbacks and they finish it off against the Padres. I will say this. That's a terrible job by Major League Baseball. And normally I don't jump on them for much other than what Manfred does. That's a terrible job. You should finish every single year should be Giants Dodgers for the final series. Just like Yankees and Red Sox should finish against each other. They should all finish against each other. It really is asinine. All right, we're going to take a really quick break. When we come back, we're going to dive into the rest of the show. We got a lot of football to talk about and fantasy football. And obviously, we'll get into a lot more. So we'll be back on a flash here on the Armchair Quarterbacks.
Conquer. Say something about that. Woo!
CBS Sports Radio.
You're listening to the Armchair Quarterbacks on CBS Sports Radio, #1 sports station.
Good morning, and this is your Armchair Quarterbacks Sports Flash. We had a lot of action in week 2 of the National Football League, so let's get you up to date on what happened in the early games. The Chicago Bears win 20-17. The game wasn't that close. Bears dominated the Bengals. Joe Burrow did have 297 yards and 2 touchdown passes while mixing 69 yards on the ground. Tyler Boyd finished with 73 yards. Justin Fields came in for an injured Andy Dalton. He completed 6 of 13 passes for 60 yards, threw 1 interception, but had 31 yards on the ground with 10 rushes. Browns bring the Texans back down to earth. Baker Mayfield, 213 yards on 19 of 21 passing with 1 touchdown. Nick Chubb, 95 in a score. And Brandon Cooks of the Texans got mop-up fantasy points, 78 yards and a score. The Rams go into Indianapolis, and they take care of the Colts, 27-24. Matthew Stafford, 19 of 30 for 278 yards, 2 touchdowns. Darrell Henderson rumbled for 53 yards and a score. And Cooper Kupp dominated play with 9 catches, 163 yards, and he scored twice. Ooh, the Buffalo Bills opened up a fresh can on the Miami Dolphins, blanking them in Miami 35-0. Josh Allen, 179 yards and 2 touchdowns. Singletary had 82 yards on the ground and a score. And Stephon Diggs, 60 yards and a touchdown. Mac Jones gets his first win as a starter in the National Football League as the Patriots pound the Jets 25-6. Zach Wilson had 4 interceptions on 210 yards passing. Damian Harris, 62 yards and a score, while Braxton Berrios of the Jets had 7 receptions for 73 yards. Jalen Hurts wasn't nearly as impressive his second game into this season as he loses at home. The Eagles get stifled by the 49ers 17-11. Jalen Hurts, 10 carries for 82 yards and a touchdown, but just 12 of 23 through the air with 190 yards. Raiders go into Pittsburgh and shock the Steelers. Las Vegas is now 2-0 on the season with wins against Baltimore and Pittsburgh under their belt. Derek Carr, 382 yards and 2 touchdown passes. One of them was a big-time one, and it was a bomb late in the game to Henry Ruggs, who finishes with 5 catches, 113 yards, and a score. Najee Harris, 10 carries for 38 yards, while adding 5 catches, 43 yards in the air, and a touchdown. Panthers stopped the Saints in their tracks. Sam Darnold, 305 yards and 2 touchdown passes, while Christian McCaffrey, 24 carries, 72 yards, and a score himself. DJ Moore had 79 yards and a touchdown. And the Denver Broncos go into Jacksonville and handle the Fighting Urban Meyers. Teddy Bridgewater, 328 yards and 2 touchdowns. Javonte Williams, 13 carries, 64 yards. And Cortland Sutton, he had 9 receptions, 159 yards receiving, as he has become, obviously, the main threat in that Denver Bronco offense. Major League Baseball gets rolling today as the early game is a 4:10 first pitch. Royals are at the Indians, the first part of a doubleheader. White Sox and Tigers, 6:40, Carlos Rodon and Matt Manning. At the same time, Pirates and Reds will be going at it, Dylan Peters and Vladimir Gutierrez. At 6:40, it's the Nationals and Marlins again, Eric Fetty and Jesus Luzardo, while the Orioles travel to Philadelphia to try to play spoiler against the Phillies. John Means versus Ranger Suarez should be one heck of a pitching matchup. The Rangers head to the Bronx in Yankee Stadium to take on New York and Nestor Cortez with his 2.60 ERA. Blue Jays and Rays at 7:10 Eastern. They begin their series. Robbie Ray versus Shane Baez. Royals are at the Indians. Carlos Hernandez versus Logan Allen. And the Cardinals are at the Brewers at 7:40. Jake Woodford versus Freddie Peralta. At 9:38, it's the Astros and Angels. Framber Valdez at Jaime Barria. And the Braves are in Arizona. 9:40 first pitch. Huascar Ynoa is at Luke Weaver and the Arizona Diamondbacks. And at the same time, Mariners and A's begin their series. A big one, Tyler Anderson head-to-head with Sean Manaea. And we've got Monday Night Football tonight. The Armchair Quarterbacks will be broadcasting Lions at Packers here on YouTube. Sean O'Toole and Mac McGee on the call. The Lions are an 11.5-point underdog. The over-under is 48.5. And that's your Armchair Quarterbacks Sports Flash. Stay tuned for the Armchair Quarterbacks radio show and YouTube Live. Please like, subscribe, and share our show today. The Armchair Quarterbacks, your first choice for sports talk, live from the First Coast.
Things that all Southerners can agree on. Part 2.
The man should always walk on the side closest to the street. Most of us learn U.S. regions by watching college football. This is not an ATV. It's a dune buggy or a four-wheeler. We don't really understand the game of soccer, but we absolutely understand the fans. This is called a purse or a pocketbook, and if a lady asks you to bring one item out of it, pick up the whole bag and take it to her. Also, don't ever sit this on the floor.
Armchair.
We have been hoodwinked, bamboozled, and flat out deceived.
There's something kind of about a kid that's never played baseball.
But what the hell, boy?
Make sure to listen to the Armchair Quarterbacks. Good enough for us down here in the bayou. Go Tigers and the Armchair Quarterbacks.
Good morning.
Armchair.
YouTube Live.
CBS Sports
Radio Station.
The radio station you can call your own. Do you know what listeners like about our station? It's everything.
I like everything. It's always on my radio.
We never stop the music, except for now, when I talk.
All right, welcome back. With Justin not being here, I wasn't going to do the whole intro as I already kind of started the show. I didn't see the point in it. I don't believe he's going to be able to make it. I just looked at the radar in his neck of the woods, in Tennessee, and it looks like they're getting some flash flooding there, and looks like that was going to continue. He had to go grab his kids at the school because evidently there was flooding going on, or there was a risk of flooding going on. I don't think there was actual flooding going on, but there was a risk of flooding going on, so that they're shutting the schools down, and so he had to go grab his kids. So hopefully everyone's safe. That's more important than anything else. And I will keep you updated. I do want to talk about something fun and exciting, though. Hopefully Sean doesn't get affected by this, but tonight we are going to do our first Monday Night Football broadcast. So hopefully that turns out well. We'll see what happens, but hopefully that does turn out well. Hopefully Sean will be able to show up for it, but that's the plan right now. We're going to come on the air 8 p.m. Eastern time. So about 15 minutes before kickoff, we'll kind of set the stage, and then we'll roll right into it. We're going to do the broadcast. It'll be audio only for obvious reasons. You can't just go out there and start stealing images and whatnot. So be audio only. We had a really positive feedback and an unbelievable amount of people who watched a Atlanta Braves, or listened to, I should really say, I did an Atlanta Braves broadcast on Friday night, late Friday night, and I was excited to do it. I was supposed to do my first one, it was supposed to be Thursday. The game gets rained out, okay? Old Murphy's Law. And I really just wanted to rip the Band-Aid off because I hadn't done a game in years. So I'm working with this other company, and I told them I would go ahead and do it Friday night. I knew it was a late start, but I was like, that's okay. We'll probably get done around midnight, 12:30. That still gives me a solid amount of sleep going into the next morning because I have to do the college football kickoff show. Well, as only it would happen, and the thing goes into extra innings. But it was a heck of a game. I had a lot of fun doing it. And it was a little choppy at the beginning. There was a lot of things going on. Won't get into that, but basically after I got my footing under me, I enjoyed it quite a bit. I enjoyed the comments. I always enjoy the comments, whether it's we're doing this show or we're doing something like that on Friday night, because that way people are actually listening to you, because I have no way of knowing if people are seeing or watching our channel until people chime in. So I always enjoy the comments, and we had people comment, and it was a lot of fun. And I woke up the next morning, couldn't believe how many people watched the replay. But I think what it was people out on the West Coast getting off work or whatever have you, and they were listening afterwards because it was a late game and it was involving a West Coast team. Can't imagine there were a lot of people in the Georgia, Atlanta area that were listening to that at the time where it really, exploded. But regardless, I did see that there were a lot of Braves fans listening. So, assuming everything goes right, the game plan tonight is to do the Monday Night Football game. And Sean and I will be on the call. It's Lions versus Packers. Sean showed some interest, and I told him, I said, well, honestly, because he said, well, let me know if there's one you want to do here in the near future. I said, well, honestly, I think one of the best ones we could do would be get his feet wet with his team, the Detroit Lions. So he obviously is going to have some insight on the Detroit Lions, and he'll be doing the color commentating. I'll be doing the play-by-play. It should be a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to it. Hopefully everything goes well without a hitch. Hopefully there's no, issues with the flooding and whatnot. But I'm also planning on doing some Braves games this week, and I look forward to that. We'll keep you abreast of that. I'm not 100% positive on which games I'm going to do, but as of right now, tentatively, I do believe we're going to do Tuesday night's game. They're playing the Diamondbacks. It's a 9:40 first pitch. I do believe we're going to do that one. And I'm definitely going to do the Thursday afternoon game, which is around a 3:30 first pitch, I believe. All these times are Eastern. And then we'll also do, I believe the Blue Jays and Rays are set to play Wednesday afternoon. And so we're looking into that one as well. But we have to check a bunch of stuff before I can just, flat out sign off and say, yes, we're going to do it. and we're going to do it without a hitch. But tonight, Monday Night Football should be a lot of fun. I'm excited to see what Aaron Rodgers does after laying a complete egg. I would think he would come out and put up a show. I'm going to be looking at some player props. I'm going to be looking at all that kind of stuff. But you never know. I mean, look, Father Time, as they say, is undefeated. And who knows? Maybe he just fell off the entire cliff and Aaron Rodgers might have missed his window. I mean, he is getting older. And I don't know how we know how dedicated Brady is to the craft. I don't know if he's that dedicated. I don't know if Aaron Rodgers is dedicated as Brady is. Well, I know he's not, because nobody's as dedicated as Brady. It's almost psychotic, right? But you just don't know when you're gonna come over 8-9 months later, go out there on the field and go, man, I don't have it anymore, right? So I lean and think that Rodgers is going to be fine, but that's also just the naive sports fan of me thinking that every great athlete is going to be great until he decides to retire. And that's just simply not the case. So we'll see how that goes. I'm also interested to see what the Packers do tonight against the Lions defensively, because the Packers look pretty bad. The Lions put up a lot of points in the second half of the first game against San Francisco, which obviously is a pretty good defense because they went out and beat the Eagles. But anyways, with all that being said, as we go into the end of week 2, let's take a look at some of the things that happened at the beginning of week 2. And obviously, one of the big stories that comes out of yesterday is there's a few injuries. There's a few injuries. Now, we don't know exactly the details of them until we get the reports today and probably tomorrow. But it looks like the Justin Fields era may have began. Now, he didn't play that great, but he also didn't take all the snaps as first team. And they still got the win. Dalton was injured. His knee was injured. The severity has not been confirmed yet, but it's not looking good. And I don't wish injury on anybody, but I will say this. The right quarterback finished the game yesterday, right? And so the latest news that I have on Dalton right now is that he leaves in the second quarter with a knee injury, and I don't see any updates on Dalton as far as I believe they're going to do a full MRI this morning. So he gets injured, right? The other situations that we had yesterday, because we had a couple of injuries, was Tyrod Taylor's injury. And looking at the severity of that, it's a hamstring. He's not going to play Thursday night. And here's the big question with that is going to be, does that mean, as we welcome Doug in, does that mean that they're going to go with Davis Mills, who looked terrible, or will they, because their head coach did not make much of a commitment one way or the other. Does that mean that we could see Deshaun Watson? So there's going to be people scurrying out there to hit the waiver wire for Deshaun Watson. I don't believe he is, as I don't know why he's not joining us. I still think that they'll be very hard-headed in the fact that they're not going to put Deshaun Watson in. They might trade him because of the Tua injury, but I will say this: if I'm Houston, I go to the league and go, hey, what's the deal, dude? You haven't put any kind of anything on him. Can he play? Can we trade him? What the hell's going on? Doug, welcome to the show.
Hey.
Congratulations on your Raiders, sir.
Oh, you got to love it. You got to love it right now. It's good to be a Raiders fan right now.
I bet you're extra happy since Lamar Jackson kind of did a number into the Kansas City Chiefs Cheerios last night.
Oh, yeah, go Lamar Jackson. Gotta love the Ravens.
Well, the one thing I do love is that we can put to bed any kind of nonsense where they start talking about can they go undefeated.
Yeah.
Because I think that they were the only team that had a realistic like threat to go undefeated. So we can put that to rest. I mean, maybe the Bucks, but I don't think it's going to be a big priority to the Bucks, to be perfectly honest with you.
No.
And so I think the Bucks are going to be worried about staying healthy and blah, blah, blah. But I could have seen a situation where Mahomes and company would be chasing undefeated, right? So that's gone. Lamar Jackson's the hero. And they kicked my butt in I took Kansas City on the money line. I thought that was free money. That's what happens in the NFL. You never know, but I really did last night. I had some winnings, and I didn't put it all there, but I put a little there. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and throw some bones down. I'm going to take 1 to 2 odds and say that the Chiefs are just going to win. I didn't feel comfortable about the spread, but I also didn't feel comfortable about taking the Ravens in the points. Are you kidding me? After what we saw in week 1, I did not expect them to. They played much better in week 2. So, so that's where I'm out on that. All in all, I had a decent day in the NFL. I kept my head above water, which is all. Anytime I have a winning record on Sundays, I'm much happier than I am on any other day. But how was your fantasy football weekend? Because I know your fantasy baseball weekend didn't exist. By the way, champion, baby.
I was going to tell you, good job. I was monitoring that just to see. See, you can't be mad at me. Lucas Giolito wasn't going to do anything for you anyway. You had it in the bag. I told you.
No, but I know Will didn't know he was going to go twice, and I was going to grab him.
Oh.
And so
just quick note on that. Yeah, I was watching that. I was shocked. It wasn't even close. I was surprised by that.
Well, I'll tell you something. The weirdest part about it is, so I blew him out, and he was realistically the second best team in the league all year.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have a very good week at all. Garrett Cole was terrible for me. I mean, he had an okay start on like Monday or Tuesday, but he barely got positive points against the Orioles on Sunday. And I'm watching that. I'm like, are you kidding me? And I knew I had it in the bag, but I was like, if I would needed him to step up in a big way, and he's one of my keepers, right? I would be furious with him right now. I'd be like willing to trade him away. I'd be like furious. Yeah, so it all works out because you get to keep Giolito. I was never going to keep Giolito.
I know.
I'd had too many cups of coffee with him. He ticked me off too many times. Plus, I have other pitchers I plan on keeping, and at some point, you can't keep them all. You know, yeah. I had a really good roster. I had a very good draft, and
just to end on that note, the thing with your baseball team, I noticed, and it was when you were playing me and Will, your batting in that league and on that team this year was off the charts. If you look at the percentage of points that you were gaining, especially like I would say in the last 3 games that you played with that team, your batting was off the charts.
Yeah, I did really well, not just drafting, but I did really well keeping an eye. And that's after trading away Austin Riley.
Yeah.
I had Austin Riley, and I probably should have kept him, but I wanted some insurance in my starting pitching, and I felt like I had. Now this before Winker got hurt and Acuna got hurt. See, I did all this with Winker and Trout and Ronald Acuna Jr. all injured for the last several weeks, right? So there are batters that I have there that I will not be keeping, because we only keep 15 in this league, and there's just you only keep so many guys. But yeah, one of the most dumbfounding thing I thought I saw all year was when one of the guys dropped Jose Altuve very early in the season.
I know, and that's one of your keys to victory. I saw that too, and I'm like, oh my God.
I couldn't believe he was out there. I don't even think I bid for him. I think he He was just there.
Yeah.
And I was like, what in the world is Jose Altuve doing out there? So I went up there and grabbed him, and I was like, this is just stupid. And I had to go back and see who dropped him. And I saw who dropped him. I was like, he always keeps way too. I picked him up in on May 14th.
Yep.
So that was that.
Because I saw you do it, and I was like, okay. Because that was around the same time I picked up Carlos Correa, and I was like, okay, all these players that we all coveted just like a couple years ago were just sitting there. I'm like, okay.
I almost want to say that it was the same guy that had Correa. So
yeah.
he just had a ridiculously loaded infield is what I'm guessing. He always keeps a ton of batters. This is dumbfounding though. His starting second baseman is Ketel Marte, who's good, but you don't drop freaking Jose Altuve.
Yeah.
I think what he might got caught with is this. He had another guy that could play second base. Let me see how long he's had this guy. All right. He's had him all year. He was a keeper. Javi Baez. And Javi Baez has had a trash year.
Yeah.
So I bet he was thinking I have two really good second basemen. At the time, I do remember Altuve started off slow. So I guess maybe that's what happened. That's the only dump. I couldn't believe that when he was out there. I was like, man, I've got some pretty difficult decisions to make on who I want to keep, because I know I'm going to leave a lot of really good players out there for everyone on the draft. But there's not a whole lot I can do about it. I just have to. I know people want to hear about me complain about my embarrassment of riches, but I did a lot of research on this year, and I had the best team in every single league, but the other two crapped the bed the first week of the playoffs. And I was like, unbelievable. I didn't score as much even in this one that I won. It was dumbfounding. And they won't let you start the playoffs any earlier, which I really would love to have the fantasy baseball playoffs done before we start football.
Yeah.
Because I would really love to not be over here managing 37 lineups in football and then still worrying about fantasy baseball.
Yep.
The rotisserie. I think we're gonna have to change something with the rotisserie. I believe Rocky Top won. I believe that's what I saw. Let me double check that real quick.
Yeah, he seems the only one who's got that figured out.
Well, he and Steven were neck and neck. Yep, Rocky Top won, beat him by 1.5.
Wow.
I do feel like a lot of people are bored with it, and I feel like we got to find a way to make it more interesting, to where someone can't just run away and hide. I don't know if we go to a point system, if that makes it more, because you could do the same theory but go by points. I just feel like what happens with this, it gets boring, because if someone has really good statistics and runs away with it, like for instance, Rocky Top, he only made 16 moves all year. Okay. Most of the teams didn't make. Will only made 5 moves. Are you the Balking Dead?
Yeah, I made 14.
Yeah, you only made 14. Trash Pandas, who worst team in the league by far, but they only made 2 moves. I just don't feel like they care, and we've got to find a way to make it interesting, or there's no point of playing this.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna have to turn it to point system. I don't know what your thoughts are, but I'm worried by the other guys. But
I had thought originally when it was set up that it was going to be a point system. I mean, that's I had forgotten.
Right, but a traditional rotisserie is you're trying to win each individual statistic, and maybe the answer is I have too many statistics out there. But I think people are losing interest. Because honestly, I think the old school rotisserie it's not as fun as a point system.
I mean, I'll speak for myself. I'm not losing interest. In my case, it's just I just like to go back and like next year and really redraft it. I messed that team up, so it's not that I'm losing interest. I'm just kind of the team.
Yeah, but I feel like you have a better chance of fixing your team throughout the season if it's a point system, as opposed to when you're stuck in that muck of ERAs and whip and all that kind of stuff. Let's say you have a couple of really bad weeks of an outing and your ERA is like this high and everybody else is this low. It takes forever to come back.
Yeah.
But in a point system, you can get hot for a few weeks and really make headway. So I mean, we'll put it up to a vote, but I just feel like something's got to be changed. But we made it a dynasty. We can't just redraft it because
I
made it a dynasty.
Yeah.
So,
I agree.
But we got to figure something out with that. And I don't know what the answer is, but I do know that I sat in third place. A couple of times I got second and first, but all in all, I sat in third place pretty much the whole year. Rocky Top and Steven were in first and second. Actually, Steven choked. Rocky Top came back and got him. Yeah. So, but that was it. Like, those are the top three teams, and it wasn't even close. Michael and Will were in the fight for fourth and fifth all year long, but that was about it. You sat around sixth all year long, and that was about it with Chop Shop. I guess that's Sean. And then, of course, Trash Pans is just so bad. Like, you can tell he doesn't pay attention to his team. Like, there's no even so it's just something's got to give because it's just too boring. It's as boring as best ball is what the problem is. I like the idea of best ball when we first talked about it a couple of years ago, and I just have no interest in best ball. I think best ball, unless you're going to put like some money involved in it, best ball is really boring. Because you're never changing your lineups, right?
Yeah.
Anyways, on to fantasy football. I'll put a cap on our fantasy baseball talk for 2021, and we'll go into fantasy football. So, fantasy football, it's time to overreact. What are you panicking about? Because I've got a litany of players that I'm freaking out about.
I'm worried about David Montgomery right now. I'm like, I don't, the way the Chicago Bears offense played yesterday, I mean, I know Dalton got hurt and Justin Fields is in, but I'm a little bit nervous about their offense right now.
You're worried about Dalton? You have Dalton?
No, David Montgomery, the running back.
David Montgomery. Okay, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. First of all, don't worry about Dalton. Cut him off your team. You better not have a quarterback than having him. Okay. I think they'll be fine because I would assume that Fields is the quarterback going forward. And you got to realize he's a rookie quarterback who didn't get the snaps in practice.
True.
And they were just trying to hold on to a lead. Right?
Yep.
I think you're talking about a different animal going forward when he's getting all the practice, all the reps, so it'll be focused on him. You'll also have a much different game plan. And if you have to game plan worrying about Fields' legs, I think Montgomery will benefit. I would hope, because I do have Montgomery. But I've got other issues across the board. Maybe I can trade you some of my sucky players for some of your sucky players.
Sucky players. I've got plenty of those. I got plenty of the trade.
What league do you have Montgomery in?
I think it's in the trophy league.
Gotcha. I don't even remember what I did with my trophy league as far as I ended up losing by 4 points. I knew that was going to happen. I quit paying attention to it, but he's got Hawkinson tonight anyways. There was something I needed towards the end of yesterday, and I quit paying attention. I was like, I'm not going to beat this guy. I forget who it was. We both scored terribly, but anyways, my team in that league, I don't really hate my team. They've just extremely underperformed. I do have Saquon Barkley. I've been waiting until week 3 to start him, so I'm excited that they're going to get the Falcons at home this week.
Oh yes.
So, and Javonte Williams has not turned out well. I can tell you that right now. I'm pretty disappointed in Javonte Williams. He goes up against the Jaguars, gets 13 carries and only 64 yards, doesn't find pay dirt. The week before, 14 carries, 45 yards. If he doesn't do something against the Broncos, when the heck is he going to? And Eli Mitchell, bleh, 17 carries, 42 yards. Bleh.
Yeah.
That was worth everyone's fab budget last week, wasn't it?
Yeah. Oh my God.
The one guy that I was high on, I sat on the bench and I shouldn't have, was Tim Patrick. Only 3 catches for 37 yards because he had the game salted away, but he did score a touchdown. Yeah. Everyone keeps talking about this KJ Hamler, and I've listened to a lot of these fantasy experts. In fact, what's his name? Steven was regurgitating one of them on yesterday's show. I didn't say nothing because I didn't want to sound like, Debbie Downer for everything, but I don't buy the KJ Hamler thing because Teddy Bridgewater is a winner. He wants to win ball games, and Tim Patrick is a big target around the end zone. He's more likely to do you well, get you double-digit points. Nothing flashy, but Hamler's going to have games where I just think you're going to wonder if he's even still on the roster.
Yeah.
So what else are you freaking out about?
Let me take a quick peek. I'll tell you what I'm freaking out about.
What did Hamler do yesterday? He do anything? 1 catch, 5 yards, 3 targets.
I'll tell you who I'm freaking out about right now.
I think that's one of the guys that they had us doing DFS. But I've learned this with some of the guys on the show and whatnot. They get overexcited if they hear a couple of who they think are like the inside nose on fantasy football. They get overexcited. They're fanboys is what they are. Overexcited because they heard a couple of guys say this and that, and they just think that it is the Bible, right? But I've been through these wars for years, and I know better than to expect any of these guys to actually know what the hell they're talking about. I try to look at data, and then I also try to look at the tail of the tape, and then I also listen to real football, and I watch the games. I think that's where there's a disconnect. Some of these guys that do this fantasy, they don't watch the game. They go off of what they think is who's the most exciting player, who's got the fastest 40 speed, but they don't watch the games.
Yeah.
I'll tell you right now, I watched a lot of that Jacksonville game yesterday. I didn't even know Hamler was on the field most of the time.
No, I didn't either. And I had heard another podcast and stuff talking about Hamler, and I forgot about it. I'm like, I don't care. I mean, I didn't think it was a factor. I mean, if you look at how Denver is set up offensively there, it's going to be, I understand Patrick, but it's going to be a Sutton Patrick passing game. It's, I don't see how Hamler's going to be part of anything. I mean, it wasn't even on my radar.
Who did you set on the bench this week that are like, are you kidding me? I sat him on the bench and I started this other guy.
It wasn't a him. It was, I benched Buffalo's defense yesterday.
Oh,
they scored over 40 points on defense. I'm killing myself right now.
No.
Oh my God. I'm
Buffalo's defense. No.
Over 42 points, I think it was. If I remember correctly.
Pay attention, because I'm only going to tell you this one more time. Tua Tagovailoa is a bust. And if you can start a defense against Tua, do it.
Yep.
I don't know if he'll start this week or not, but he is a bust. Everyone's in denial in that. Tua is a freaking bust. And if Miami's smart, they get him the heck out of that building and trade for Deshaun Watson, take whatever lumps the NFL is going to give him. Let him be suspended, whatever. Let him be suspended for the year. Tua is a bust.
I agree. And I'll tell you somebody, worried about as far as running backs, even though I know fantasy point people say, okay, he did all right, but I'm worried if you got Ezekiel Elliott, you've got a problem because Tony Pollard put up a lot of fantasy points yesterday.
I think I drafted him in like one league, maybe two. And it's just because I was like, well, I don't have shares of him. And I don't think you have big problems with Zeke. I mean, he still had 16 carries, 71 yards, and a touchdown.
But he was touchdown dependent. But Tony Pollard is taking some of that action away from him.
He has. We've seen this in the past too. Some of it's game flow. I also believe some of that was. I'll put it this way: the reason why I don't have many shares of Ezekiel Elliott, and I'm in 32 leagues, I only think I have him in 2 leagues. I'm not convinced he was a number 1 back going into the season. I just wasn't. In fact, in one of the videos that I did, I talked about how guys that I'm staying away from, and he was one of them. Not because he sucks, because you were drafting him in like the top 5.
Yes, exactly.
And I had the same feeling with him that I've had Joe Mixon in previous years. Of Joe Mixon doesn't suck, but Joe Mixon never belonged as a first round pick.
Right.
Zeke is at that part in his career, man, where I think he's on the backside of 30, as as I like to say, the old John Conley song. I don't think he's I think he's got talent still. I don't think he's past his prime, but I don't think we're going to see him where he was about 3 years ago. And some of it has to do with the fact the maturation of Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
But a lot of it has to do as well. That offensive line was so good like 3 years ago. It's still decent, but it was so good. He had holes this wide running through.
Yep.
Now it's like this. So he's still gonna have a decent year. But I'm with you. The other guy that I want less shares of is Saquon Barkley, because I didn't realize it till later on. I drafted him in too many leagues, and I do try to bust it up when you're in 32 leagues. I try not to have Derrick Henry. I don't care how good he is. I don't want him in every single league. What if that dude breaks an ankle? So I've got him in a few of our leagues. I think I've got to move some Barkley. I might keep Elliott because he's not at a very good. He's not trending up right now.
Right.
But I even felt like when I drafted him, it was the Nashville league, and I drafted him, I was like, man, he's not the best player on the board, but okay, whatever. I'll grab Zeke. All right, whatever. I was much more excited when it fell back to me in the second round. So this was a 10-man draft. In the second round, coming back down, Austin Eckler was there. And
yeah.
I was like, now that's a steal. And at that point, I was like, you know what? I can live with Eckler and Elliott as my 2 running backs if in a 10-man league. I also ended up with Montgomery in that league. He's going to have issues throughout the year, because if the Bears do get to the point where they're playing from behind, he's not their guy.
No.
So, and remember something else, Tariq Cohen's going to come off the IR. So when he comes off the IR and is healthy about midway through the season, you're going to start getting Montgomery. Like Montgomery won't even be in the game during passing downs.
Yep.
So I'll trade you Barkley for David Montgomery, and we can both be miserable.
Done deal.
I swear every time I have a freaking a trade in fantasy football, man, not only do I get the raw end of it, but the guy I trade with usually gets an injury as well. Like 5 minutes after the trade, we find out that both of them, snap their fibula getting off the bus at the same time. Like, what? I don't remember that one I have with Justin last year, and I was like, are you serious? It was Michael Thomas and someone else. And I think I traded him Michael Thomas, and whoever he traded me was trash.
Yes.
I think it might have been Zeke. Anyways. Unbelievable. So before we go ahead out of here, give me a couple of guys that you're freaking out about.
I'm freaking out. The 3 I'm freaking, like I said, we talked about Montgomery. I'm freaking out about Dak Prescott as a quarterback. I know he played well week 1. I didn't like what I saw yesterday. If he plays like that the rest of the season, he could be a bust at quarterback. And A.J. Brown, watch that Titans game and watch that guy drop no less than 4 passes.
God, he was bad, wasn't he?
Oh, that was horrible.
I only kept him in our keeper league because I'm like, it's stupid not to. He's being projected in the third round. You can keep 4 players. And I was like, I didn't want to keep him again, man. I stayed away from him in other leagues where we drafted because I was just like, man, I watched him do this all. He's got unbelievable talent, but they're going to get tired of this. And Julio had a pretty good game. He would have had a phenomenal game had he dragged that foot in the back of the end zone. I actually got a chance to watch the entire Titans game in its entirety. I played some voodoo on my computer, and I was able to trick my television streaming service into thinking I was in Seattle, Washington yesterday. I won't be able to do that every week. It just because they just happen to be in Seattle. The VPN that I use, that's one of their cities. I was like, let me go try this. This was right around kickoff. Me and the wife had been watching football, sitting on the couch. She got back from doing errand stuff like that. She wasn't watching. She was sleeping. But I was like, yes, Peter. She goes, well, I said, I'll be back here the rest of the afternoon. She's like, what? I was like, I can't because the computer I have it on, it's not transportable. It's a desktop. And I was like, I'm watching the Titans game. She's like, all right. We'll eat dinner afterwards. All right. I give her a ballpark because I'd made some chili. Phenomenal chili, by the way. But anyways, then the game goes into overtime. She'd already dealt with me doing the Friday night baseball game that I did live here. I did Atlanta Braves versus the Giants live for a company that I'm working with, and I simulcasted it on to YouTube. So a programming reminder real quick again, Sean and I are going to be doing Monday Night Football tonight. So you can catch it on the YouTube channel is the best place to catch it. But anyways, the Braves game that I did Friday night went to extra innings. So I didn't come to bed till like 2:00 in the morning easily. It was at least 2:00 in the morning. And then I had to be up the next morning for the college football kickoff show. So I was dragging ass all Saturday, man. I was just a zombie. But anyways, same thing. She's like, what is going on? I say, we're in overtime. Just relax. I'm ready to eat. I said, go eat. I said, I'm not leaving this computer. I'm not going to do it. I got to see this. Because if they pull it off, and when we had to punt at the beginning of every time, I was like, oh, Russell Wilson going to get us. He going to get us. And by the way, that was a safety, my friends. I don't care what anyone tries to tell you. That was a freaking safety. That was a garbage call. Did you see the end of that?
Yes, I did.
That was a garbage call. At what point do you blow the whistle like in the grasp just because he's near you? Because by the time he had him in his grasp, he'd already twirled him into the back of the end zone.
Yep.
That was unbelievably ridiculous.
I agree.
Oh, I was so mad about that. Especially when it got down to the end, that idiot kicker was coming up. I was like, oh my God, he's going to miss another one. This is just going to be, all I could think is I really hate football, man, because every team I've ever pulled for can't hit a field goal. And it just really wears on me. Like, just get rid of field goals. I'm tired of looking at them.
I still don't know why Vrabel didn't go for 2 on that, what was it, that one score? He should have gone for 2. I mean, Seattle's defense was gassed by this time.
Are you talking about the end of the game?
Yeah.
No, I agreed with that one because there was still 30 seconds left. So Seattle would have been much more aggressive. They've got a really good field goal kicker. You go for 1 there. Seattle got very conservative. Like they were trying to get up the field, but they were also trying not to lose. And in other situations, I see going for 2. But the Titans have not been playing very well at all this year. If we get like a week 10 and we're rolling and we're doing well, then I don't have an issue with it. But 2 yards for that offense recently has been a struggle. So, I mean, if you're going to do it, I'd say you give it to Henry on some kind of a toss sweep and just hope that everyone can hold their blocker and just let the bull run in. But that would be my only way of doing. I get where you're coming from. You're on the road, go for 2, blah blah blah. But it's not like you're a terrible team. If you're like the Bengals this year, or you're the Jets, like let's say for some reason the Jets in the next few weeks are playing a good team and they get to that situation, absolutely go for 2, because you're probably going to lose in overtime, right? And you don't care if you win this year or not. If you're Rob Saleh, you're just wanting to get this team going, right? And you've got a really athletic quarterback that you could play a lot of games with. You could roll them out, whatever you want to do. But tell you what, man, it was good. It was good to see the Yulee night train take off yesterday. I was starting to wonder. I was like, man, did I hold on to him one too many years? I was like, because he's looking bad. Not necessarily him, but the offense line. They did that without Taylor Lewan yesterday, by the way, which I don't know what's up with him. He in undisclosed injury right before kickoff. By the way, before we run out of here, did you happen to see this Miami Hurricane? It got all over Twitter and whatnot Saturday night and Sunday. Did you see this thing where the Miami Hurricane running safety runs up to the Michigan State? I believe it was the tailback was running his way, and right before they go head to head, the safety just goes over and pops a blocker and lets the guy run by him. Did you see this?
Yeah, I actually did, and I was kind of scratching my head.
That is one of the strangest plays I have ever seen. Even stranger than when the 2 University of Florida guys were blocking each other going into against Georgia Southern about 6-7 years ago. That was even stranger than that, because I felt like he literally purposely did want nothing to do with that guy, and he went over there. This guy this Miami Hurricane fan put out a TikTok last night that I found that I would have loved to share it with everyone, but he said some pretty filthy things, so there was no way I could. I mean, it's some funny stuff, man. He was talking about kicking the dude off the team, and when you get to your next place, you need to make sure to tell the coaches that I'll clean it up. You need to tell your next coaches that you're scared to hit people, because let them know that ahead of time, because I was not aware of that. All that kind of stuff. It's some funny stuff. I mean, I was just dying. I went back and looked at the guy's other TikToks and go, okay, so he's actually a Miami Hurricane fan. I thought he was just a guy, trolling him. All right. It's time to turn back time and get the hell on out of here. We might have to trade some of our terrible players to each other, Doug, just to mess it up, man. Right. So if I send you terrible trade offers or whatever, just know you can send me terrible trade offers too, because I might have fun with this week. I'm not just going to sit around and watch my players suck. I'll take other sucky players and watch those guys suck for a few weeks and see if I can trade them. That's like, all right, here we go. Always go to the wrong screen on this sucker. Turn back time. Let's go on, get on out of here. This is an interesting one, and I would be willing to bet not many people have ever heard of this gentleman. The great Bill Burgin. Have you ever heard of him?
Vaguely, yes, I know the name.
What do you know him from?
Well, this is probably where I'm wrong. Was he from, I want to say basketball, but I could be wrong.
Okay, so you're lying. Bill Burgin was a Major League Baseball player in the early 1900s.
Okay, never mind. I couldn't remember.
Early 1900s.
Oh,
we always hear about the Mendoza line, right?
Mm-hmm.
This guy was much worse and played 11 years. Bill Burgin ends his Major League career on this date with the lowest lifetime batting average for a position player in Major League history with as many at-bats. He hit an anemic 170 in his 11-year tenure with the Reds, which is why I brought it up, because he played for the Reds.
Yeah, I couldn't remember him.
And the Super Balls, an extinct team now. But the 33-year-old backstop who had only 1 year of batting average above 200, just one season, but he played for 11 seasons in the majors. That's what dumbfounds me about this. And yes, it was the dead ball era, but the dead ball era typically refers to low power numbers, not low batting averages. Anyways, evidently he was a heck of a fielder. He also holds the record for the lowest season batting average for a regular season player of 139. Oh, can you imagine if you drafted him in fantasy baseball back in 1909? There was a fantasy baseball league somewhere in 1909. Are you kidding me? I wasted my third round pick on this jerk off. The longest streak of at bats without a hit at 46 in 1909. That mark would be passed by. I'm going to give you three guesses of modern day fairly recently. Who passed him for 46 consecutive at bats without a hit? Just real quick, just throw them out here. I don't think you'll get it, so don't.
I couldn't even begin to tell you.
All right. It's Chris Davis of the Baltimore Orioles.
Oh, yeah.
He broke it from 2018 to 19. He went 0 for 54. He made a heck of a lot more money than Bill Burgeon did. I tell you. Yeah. Also on this date, real quick, this is on this date, Babe Ruth ties Ned Williamson's major league mark of 27 home runs with a ninth inning blast in Boston. Now that would be the end of it for the 1919 season. Babe Ruth the following year, which is when they kind of end the dead ball era, is most people's mark of the dead ball era is 1920 on. It really started around 1918, 1919. But the following year, Babe Ruth would double the home run record at 54. Can you imagine going into the season and being excited? Man, he hit 27, man. That's really cool. When we'll do this year. And he hits 54. That's the equivalent of someone hitting 140 home runs right now.
Yeah.
Or actually 146, because the record by Bonds is 73. Imagine someone going hitting 146, and they'd still give the MVP to Shohei Ohtani because he can pitch. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. deserves the MVP. I don't care what anyone says. That dude is carrying that team on his back. If they make the playoffs, give me Vladdy. All right. Yep. Birthdays. It's your birthday today. Dead guy. Normally, a lot of y'all have never heard of the dead guy. This one you have heard of. Born on this date, 1917, American Basketball Hall of Fame coach, general manager, 9-time NBA champion, Mr. Red Auerbach, born in Brooklyn, New York. Passed away in 2006. How old would he be today if he had made it? He never would have lived. Never would have made it. Now, a guy that you they're still with us. He is just 41 years old. I swear he feels like he should be a lot older than this. Is it 41 or 4? No, I'm sorry. 43 years old. Dante Hall. You remember him, Chiefs?
Yep. Oh, yeah.
I don't know why, but in my head, he's like in his 50s. I guess it's because he had such a short career. I mean, not super short. He played for 9 years? 2000 to 2006 with KC, and then he played for the Rams for a couple of years. But
played for the Redskins too, I think.
It's not according to this. That's the only two teams I see.
Oh, okay.
Unless maybe he tried out and didn't make it or whatever. And he was the one, he's the one that made this a moniker.
Yes.
Because he called himself the X Factor, also known as the human joystick. He was basically, just for people who don't remember him, he was basically just a special teams nightmare. And he reminds me a lot of the guy playing for KC now that you'll see people want to pick up on waivers if he has one good game. The receiver from the University of Georgia, Hardman, or Carl Hardman. That's who Hardman reminds me of every time I see him. Is Dante Hawks. I'm like, man, he's just that dude with a lot of speed, but that's about it. What is your walk-off for the day, sir?
My walk-off today was, I just want to talk about Derek Carr real quick. If you're a Raiders fan listening to my voice, huh? Phenomenal. And I don't want to hear any more talk. Other people on Raiders channels, I don't want to hear any more talk about he doesn't care about the team. This is the reason we're winning this season. I don't want to hear any more trade talks about Derek Carr anymore. No Raider on that team is doing more than this guy is right now.
And you don't want to see Doug mad. I'll tell you what, you'll be able to argue this if he keeps this up for, let's say, a couple more years.
Yep.
He could be, and I know he hasn't won championships. Let's not talk about championships. I'm talking about it as a passer. He very well could be the greatest quarterback in the history of the Raiders organization.
Yes.
Because when the Raiders won those championships, they were never like a big time passing team. They would throw the deep pass, but they won those games on running the football and usually one of the best defenses in the league.
Yes, absolutely.
He could chuck it, man. Now, I've dismissed him. I'll tell you one thing. I wish I would have started him over freaking Jameis Winston. I'll tell you that. I didn't expect Jameis Winston to throw for 5 touchdowns, but I also didn't expect him to lay an egg and do nothing. Tell you, so who didn't do nothing yesterday was Dak Prescott. Thanks a lot there, buddy. You lost me like 3 leagues against the Chargers defense.
Yeah.
Get that. My walk-off for today is, remember, tonight, 8 o'clock Eastern, Sean and I will be on the call here on YouTube. We're going to be doing Detroit at Green Bay. Should be a lot of fun. Hope y'all can chime in and listen and comment as much as you want. That way we know you're here, because we're basically planning on just having a lot of fun with it. We're going to just kind of comment on the game, and we'll see how this works. And if it's something that the people really enjoy, we might be doing a lot of this in the very near future. All right, Doug, I expect you to watch tonight and chime in and make fun of Sean at some point.
I'll make a point of it.
All right, brother. We'll see you next Monday, and y'all have a great rest of your day. Top of the hour, Sean and I are coming with you with East Coast baseball. And your Reds need to get it together, man.
Oh, don't even bring it up.
Freaking Cardinals. You look at the Cardinals. They're terrible. Their pitching staff is terrible. What did Wade Miley do? I'll tell you what he did. He cost me money this weekend.
Yeah, me too.
What a jerk.
Gotta go.
Goodbye, sweetheart. Well, it's time to go. We're back tomorrow with another show. Well, unless we're fired, we'll talk to you then. Goodbye, sweetheart. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Guys and gals, it's time to go. We'll see you on the next show.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
Thanks for listening to the Armchair Quarterbacks on these CBS Sports affiliates and catching the show on YouTube Live. We're here weekdays. Find Armchair Quarterbacks on YouTube Live today. Please subscribe and share and take us everywhere you go. The Armchair Quarterbacks, your first choice for Southern sports talk, live from the First Coast.